Yo, what is going on YouTube? I am Germ here. Today we're going to be talking about the LCS once again, and we're going to be talking about something a little bit more speculative, some, potential rumors, some things potentially going on in the very, very near future. Obviously, there's been all different kinds of talk in both the LCS and the LEC about teams leaving, teams coming, teams going, whatever, who's going to leave, who's going to still be here next year, who's going to buy their slots, who's going to sell their slots, and all of that stuff. And there's been rumors, and I've covered some of these, and these are things that I'm hearing behind the scenes as well. I've recently tweeted out, I've heard that at least 2 teams in the LCS are considering selling their LEC slot. That doesn't mean they're going to, but it means that it's at least an option. It's at least on the table. Maybe they're fielding offers. Maybe they're seeing how much value this thing could really have. We've already heard about TSM, that they were in contact with Misfits about maybe buying their LEC slot, which would have meant leaving the LCS. There's just all this kind of craziness and all these rumors and different things going on. But recently, this guy, David Shynock, he tweeted this out. This guy, he's like a League of Legends, LOL esports, like TikToker. He makes a bunch of content. He's been doing stuff for a while. It seems like he's popping off. Kind of some crazy, impressive numbers and views and stuff. But he was recently on Hotline League, where he was asking a question, and this is kind of very unrelated, but an interesting note from this conversation that I did want to show in this video. And then we can talk about some other stuff as well that might give us some hints or some insight into what some people are thinking or saying is going on behind the scenes. So let's see what happens in this TikTok clip.
Well,
really? But
I
you were
guess
wearing
that makes sense.
TL stuff in that. I feel like I've mostly seen you in TL merch.
I am trying to get every single team's jersey for the sake of content. I currently have TL, FlyQuest, 100 Thieves, and then Optic, may they rest in peace.
There's probably a couple that you should try to get soon because I'm worried. I don't know how much longer some of these brands are going to be in the LCS. But why?
So, kind of just a random aside comment. Travis isn't really saying anything there. He's not really making a statement. But the interesting thing about Travis is that, and I've covered this, I've been covering Travis for the last couple of years, like 2 or 3 years now, where I talk about a lot of the things he says, a lot of things he does, a lot of his interviews. He's a guy who has a ton of connections, insane amounts of connections. He hears things, he talks with people, he asks questions. He knows what's going on for the most part. But he's also a guy who doesn't like to put his name behind a lot of stuff, a lot of these rumors, a lot of these things that could happen, might happen, whatever. Partly because I'm assuming he doesn't want to deal with the backlash, partly because he doesn't want to deal with the crazed fans, partly because he needs to, keep up his relationships with a lot of these people and stuff like that. And the other part of it is he just doesn't need to. He's doing well enough. He's making a boatloads of money. He's doing very, very well, better than many, many, many people in the scene. So he always drops little comments, and he always, doesn't really make full statements. His thing is like, my predictions, my guesses, whatever. And this seems to me like one of those predictions or guesses. And it turns out a lot of Travis's guesses or predictions or whatever are very, very educated guesses or predictions. And one of the things, this guy's saying, hey, I want to get jerseys for all the LCS teams. I make TikTok content. I make content. He always wears his jerseys and stuff in his videos. And, so yeah, he wants to do that. And Travis tells him, hey, you might want to hurry up and get some of these because some of these teams might not be in there. And he says, he's worried that not all these teams are going in there. So, but I think he's saying that for a reason. I think he hears stuff, he knows stuff. And I think this just reaffirms, at least to me, maybe it does to you, maybe not. I'm just presenting you guys information. Draw your own conclusions. I don't really care if you agree with me or don't agree with me or whatever, but I just want to get this out to you guys that I think Travis thinks that, hey, some of these teams might be considering leaving the LCS as well, which is the information that I have gained and put out to you guys as well on Twitter. So when we start taking a look at all the different teams, we've had this conversation before. Who are the teams who are most likely to be leaving? Obviously, TSM has already considered leaving or looked at different options, done their due diligence, whatever they want to call it. They're not leaving. They're not going anywhere. I have said a hot take of mine is over the next 5 to 10 years, I think it's very, very possible that TSM could leave the LCS, whether it's to go to the LPL, whether it's to go to the LEC, something like that. I think the LPL is way, way, way more likely. But I think it's pretty clear that Reggie and TSM don't really agree with the future outlook of the LCS or how the LCS is going about things in a lot of ways. And I think they don't love the direction the LCS is headed in a lot of different ways. So I think if they have an opportunity, I think if the LCS continues a downtrend and they have an opportunity to jump ship, I could see them doing it. Just not this year and probably not the next couple years, but kind of medium to long term, I could definitely see that. But the teams we're talking about this year, three of the teams that are really, really coming to my mind. Dignitas seems like the most obvious one. If there's a top tier of teams probably leaving the LCS, I think Dignitas is kind of in a category of their own right now. I know at certain points of this year, people would have probably said Immortals, but Immortals maybe even seems more likely to stay at this point. They've obviously been spending a decent amount of money on their LCS team. It's not like they're spending insane amounts, but like Ignar, Power of Evil, they recently had Zergze, like guys like this, like these aren't super cheap guys. It's not like they're totally phoning it in. They also went out and got Kenvi, which they had to buy him out from 100 Thieves, and he's like a younger player that they're trying to develop. So like, if you were planning on not even being in the LCS next year, why spend money to buy out Kenvi? Why do a lot of these things? I think Immortals maybe is gonna stay. I could definitely see Immortals leaving too, but I just think Dignitas is much more likely to leave, especially because they really seem disinterested in the LCS. They're not doing a ton of content. They're not really growing a fan base. They're not doing anything meaningful. Their team sucks. They recently sold off one of their best players in River. Didn't really replace him with anything. Their team's pretty boring, pretty uninteresting, and pretty bad. I think Dignitas, number one team, most likely to leave. They have the Dignitas name and brand, but they are not the cutie pie Dignitas teams or the Scara or anything like that. They are just just like a shell. Like there's no heart, there's no soul, there's nothing going on there. If they could sell their slot for 30, 40, 50 million dollars, I think they absolutely should do that, and I think they absolutely would do that. So I could definitely see Dignitas leaving. I could definitely see Immortals leaving. And what's also interesting is FlyQuest. So we already know that Trisha, their CEO, she left. And Trisha in a lot of ways was like the face, the heart, the soul, the everything for FlyQuest. Like Trisha was why so many people love FlyQuest. Yes, people love FlyQuest because they take these kind of ragtag teams and they do great things with them, and that's awesome. But also so much of FlyQuest has been Trisha on Twitter showing her face, making videos, doing FlyQuest, TreeQuest, Sequest, all that different stuff. Trisha was the face for all of it. And she is now gone and took a lesser job at C9. Like obviously C9, much bigger organization, more money, more opportunity, so many different things. But I think she was the CEO for FlyQuest, and now she's some kind of marketing person for Cloud9. So that's a serious title change. Maybe she's even making more money now, but still, like, how often do you get to be a CEO? And could that be some foreshadowing to the future not being super bright for FlyQuest? Could that mean, maybe the end is near for FlyQuest? I don't know if she left because she knew the end was coming, but I also believe that once she leaves, that makes the future outlook for FlyQuest much worse. We also saw this recently, who I didn't even know who this person was, but Tricky Gonzalez, he tweeted out, after 4.5 years, today is my last day at FlyQuest. It's been the most incredible journey, helping to build a brand team that did things differently than everyone else to create something unique with the people you care about most. It's an enormous honor that I'll cherish forever. But this is another person leaving FlyQuest. Now, hey, people come and go from orgs all the time. People leave. That's a totally normal thing, but like, hey, now we got a couple people leaving from FlyQuest at the same time. And if these teams are going to sell, it's got to be relatively soon. Yeah, it's only August, but you pretty much have to sell in like August or September so that the next team coming in has time to actually prepare adequately for the next season. You're not going to sell your slot in December when the season starts in January. You're going to sell in August. You're going to sell in September, and you're hopefully going to give everyone involved a little bit of a heads up of what's going on. So does this mean FlyQuest is selling out? Not 100% sure, but with a lot of the things going on, you can also see here that this guy says, hey, with less than a dozen employees, FlyQuest has been able to achieve some really rad things, which is also crazy. This shows that FlyQuest is one of the smallest teams in the LCS. They have one of the smallest budgets. They have one of the smallest, just like cores, one of the smallest like numbers of employees, employee base. They don't do a whole lot of other esports. Like it's mostly all about the League of Legends team. And again, another org and another group where like if they could get 30, 40, 50 million dollars for their slot, like I think they would, especially at this point in time, probably be silly to pass that up. So yeah, I don't know. Travis seems to be hinting that some changes to the LCS could be coming. I've talked with some people, and maybe it seems like Dignitas and FlyQuest could be the top two choices of maybe teams to go. Maybe one team leaves, maybe two teams, maybe three teams, who knows? Maybe Immortals is in that mix. Maybe nobody ends up leaving, but again, there's people out there, Mr. Beast, Sentinels, Optic, FaZe, all these other teams who are probably very, very interested in LCS slots and are probably going to be throwing around some crazy amounts of money to maybe get involved in this thing. So I don't know. Keep an eye on this. We're going to find out. We're going to hear some big news over the next couple of months. I really think that. And again, we already see the ball rolling over in the LEC, obviously with Misfits leaving. So I think we're going to hear some stories sooner rather than later. But that's pretty much it for this video today, guys. Let me drop a like if you did enjoy it. I would appreciate that so much. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you guys think about anything we talked about in this video today. Subscribe to stay up to date on all my latest content. Hopefully catch you guys in the next one. But until then, peace.